The expansion of ISIS is traveling farther beyond the Middle East and is now reaching territories as far as China, highlighting the Asian country's growing problem with its own Muslim minority. Recently, 7 Chinese nationals were detained in Turkey as they attempted to enter Syria. They came from the traditional Muslim province of Xinjiang. The Uyghur people, the traditional ethnic group of this area, are of Turkic origin and mainly Muslims. They live in Xinjiang Autonomous Region, China's westernmost territory. And since 1955, the Chinese government has run a settlement program that brings other sects of Chinese to this area. Chinese officials are very worried that this influx of the Islamic extremism is going to create and train fighters that will come to this territory back and create bigger insurgency. Nick, the Chinese government already blamed the Uyghur terrorists not only for attacks against Han Chinese, also government facilities in that area, but also the big attack in Beijing Tiananmen Square in October 2013 and a massive knife attack at Kunming, a train station that had 29 people killed and 140 injured. For that, China, the government of China, is already cracking down on this Muslim population. They instituted a ban on beards and bills on city buses, further alienating the Muslim population. We are seeing, again, this anti-Muslim sentiment.
Yeah, and that really doesn't help the problem, telling everyone that they cannot have beards and they cannot have their faces hid by the veils. That is complete opposite of what they should be doing. These knife attacks are coming for a reason, because they're feeling oppressed. And oppressing them further isn't going to help. If you want, you should look up on Google, look up like, I think it's Chinese propaganda murals in Xinjiang. The things that the government is painting on the walls, it's so blatantly racist, and they're basically saying, like, with an X through it, like, don't dress like this, you should dress like this. A good Uyghur dresses like this. They have, like, a big Chinese tractor running over little guys in black with knives, and it's like, don't be, if you're Muslim, be a nice Muslim. Don't be like those Muslims. So it's like, it's going to piss a lot of people off. But it's not surprising, the whole ISIS thing, that you see people leaving to go to Syria, because that's it. When you see people who feel like they're pissed about their own country, they leave to go to Syria. That's kind of their way out. You see people even from Europe going, from America. And recently we heard about people from Kosovo isolated. Going. So
correct. So what you describe, combined with this big number of different extremist movements worldwide, it's a perfect storm for a growing insurgency in these territories from China. They say that more than 800 Chinese nationals have been stopped in Vietnam in 1 year alone, trying to travel to Middle East countries. Chinese jihadists were first reported in Syria in 2012, and in September of last year, one was captured by the Iraqi military. 300 Chinese nationals were fighting with ISIS already, and there's reports that 1,000 are being trained in a military base in Pakistan. So what we see is that this is maybe a small problem that is growing, and the situation is there for this to explode. So, but what is the problem domestically? What does this mean for China? The problem is that if they come back trained to China and they are able and successful at doing terrorist attacks in the area, they're going to hurt one of the main pillars of the Chinese Communist Party, which is keeping the population under control, the public order. The preservation of order is very important in China because there's so much oppression towards the people that the moment that they see that there's this group that is successful at defying the government, other groups might start organizing, not necessarily Muslim, other groups might start organizing and fight the government. And the other thing, and this is very, very important, is that because of pollution, China is ramping up their consumption of natural gas. But it so happens that the main pipes and reserves are in this area of China. So the possibility of terrorist attacks to these energy lines is there, is present, and is very worrisome for China.
In regards to fighters coming back to China with these anti-government sentiments, we saw what Saudi Arabia did, if it was last year or the year before, I'm not sure, but they criminalized being atheist. And they did that because a lot of people were coming back from Syria with these thoughts fresh in their mind about, fighting a government. They were worried, they were scared, the same way the Chinese government probably is about this. And so they cracked down on them, calling them terrorists, you're all atheists, you're not going to come back here with these kinds of ideas. Therefore, throwing a lot of people in jail by saying they're atheists. You know what I mean? So China's not dumb. They're going to probably do the same thing if the numbers keep growing. Those going to Syria, those coming back from Syria, they should be concerned. I mean, that's something that any country would be concerned. So they're probably keeping a close watch on that, and they probably know exactly what's happening.
I mean, the problem is so bad right now that last year, the Islamic State leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi criticized this Chinese ruling in Xinjiang and went to the extent of asking the Muslims in this country to pledge allegiance to him. Again, this is something that we've seen, that ISIS is very clever on identifying these groups that are being isolated, they're being rejected from their home countries, and send propaganda their way so they feel at home with this ideology. So this is of concern for the world, because if they go all the way to China and they create disturbance there, we'll see that this group is growing really, really fast. So we want to know, what do you think, if ISIS is being really good at propaganda, or the governments of the world are being really bad at understanding the Muslim population? Let us know what you think in the comments, and subscribe to the Lip TV.